Thanks for tuning into this month's market update for the month of April 2021. Harry, how did the markets do in April?
Markets overall, David, in April were actually pretty good. The U.S. market was up 5%, 3% in Canadian dollar terms. Canada was actually up a little more than 2%. Europe was up between 1 and 3%, depending on the country. And Asia was a little bit of a mixed bag, slightly negative overall. David, why did the equity markets have a good month in April?
Well, a lot of the GDP numbers, especially in the United States, obviously the United States markets were the best performing in April. Canada was pretty good too, as you mentioned. But it's really just the growth forecasts and the numbers that are coming in have actually been quite good. So in the United States for the first quarter of 2021, the GDP annualized figure for Q1 2021 was 6.4%. Compared to the fourth quarter of 2020, it was 4.3%. So growth picking up. We're starting to see that the U.S. consumer confidence is strengthening. Obviously, vaccine rollout's going pretty well in the states, so more and more states and businesses are reopening. Consumer sentiment index scores were better in April than they were in March in the United States. So all these factors are leading us to believe that the U.S. consumer is in pretty good shape despite the pandemic here in 2021. And that's led the U.S. Federal Reserve to provide a pretty positive outlook for 2021, although they are still keeping their rates near zero and they are still buying bonds. So they're keeping their monetary policy in effect, which is also supportive of the market. So that's why April was pretty good, especially in the United States. Harry, how has the Canadian economy been doing recently?
Yeah, Canadian economy actually has been doing really well. And if we think about the Canadian economy, it's really built up of two main things: financial institutions and resources. And lately we've seen commodities sort of start taking off. And the thought process for a lot of countries and other things around the world that are starting to recover from the pandemic is that they're going to start building, they're going to start growing, and they're going to start needing our resources. And that's going to cause our economy to continue to strengthen, which we've started to see. We've also seen our dollar rise. I mean, we've had a 3.5% rise in our Canadian dollar so far this year, David. And a lot of that is just on the back of higher demand for commodities and resources. So overall, it's been really, really good for the Canadian economy. And David, where do we expect the markets to head from here?
Overall, I think our outlook for the rest of the year is similar to most, that it should be a positive remainder of the year for the equity markets. Although it is interesting to note that it'll probably be hard for the markets to keep up the pace for the rest of this year that we've seen for the past 6 months. The past 6 months have been quite good for the markets. We sort of saw a microcosm of that at the end of April. The last week of April, a lot of companies in the S&P 500 reported earnings. And the bulk of them, their earnings actually completely blew away the forecasted earnings for the bulk of those companies. And despite the fact that we had really good earnings, the market didn't really do much in response. So that just tells us that probably a lot of the good news or the recovery has already been priced into the markets. But that's not to say that equities don't still have some room to run. We've obviously still got a lot of monetary and fiscal support out there. There's still a lot of pent-up demand. Look at us here in Canada. We still really haven't been able to travel or do anything that a lot of people in the States have started to get back to doing. So there's still a lot of reasons to look at equities as the rest of the year should shape up pretty well.
As always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give David or myself a call. Have a nice day.
Take care.